Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel here at Paradise on Pennies. I'm Heather, and there's Kluwani Dog over there. And today I want to talk to you guys about coyotes. So this will be a little did you know video about coyotes. We've been hanging out and traveling a lot in the American Southwest, and so I've been around quite a bit of coyotes down here. And I've also learned a lot about them, and they're actually very fascinating creatures. So I wanted to share with you guys some of these cool facts about coyotes. Now, to start off, what's really interesting about them is if we think about the times when we hear them at dusk and you hear them yipping and howling, what's really cool is that a lot of times they're doing a population census. They're actually making calls and doing communication so that they can see how the overall coyote population is doing. And if they don't get the right response back, they actually have a biological response to have a higher litter, a higher count of pups, sometimes 2 to 3 times as many as they would normally have. So you can see that if the population is under pressure and anything's happening that's killing a lot of coyotes off, that a couple seasons later they can actually, there can be just as many if not more. So some of these predator control programs have failed, particularly for coyotes, because of this and some of the other cool things that I'll talk about. So in addition to that response, they also have basically a dispersal response. So coyotes can live in, they can live as a single or in pairs or even as a group or pack. And when they're in their pack, they typically have like an alpha male and female, and those are the only ones that can mate, just that pair bond. The rest of them in the group are not allowed to mate. They're suppressed on mating. So if something or someone comes along and kills one of those mating pairs, or one of them, the rest of them can disperse, go off, form their own groups, and they are now allowed to mate. So you can see the combination of the first thing I talked about, having a higher number of pups, as well as this dispersal tactic, can actually help them fend off pressures on their populations. This is actually part of the story as to how coyotes spread east. They are native to the western portion of the country and not the east. But when we had a lot of predator control programs going on in the country, not that we don't still, but these pressures on the population actually helped them disperse eastward. So, so those are just 2 really interesting things about them. And I think it's really important to tell stories like this because it's a whole nother side than what's typically told. There's a lot of negative stories that get spread about all larger predators and also particularly about coyotes. Some people kind of hate them or are scared of them, but they're actually pretty fascinating creatures. And it hasn't always been this way. So what's the big problem here is that when we tell just the negative stories about them being these scary, wily beasts running around just, trying to, attack us or our pets or whatever, we forget the whole other side of the story. And we also give support to programs that can be really inhumane and cruel to these types of species. And one of them is actually very well related to coyotes, although it is used for other things like wolves and other species. One of these is the program that's still going on right now, and it is to use cyanide bombs. It's not really different than what it sounds like. If you've not heard of them, I highly recommend looking into this. They are literally little sprinkler head things that spray out cyanide and ultimately kill the animal. So wolves and coyotes are prime victims of these types of things. So these cyanide bombs, there's a particular story out of Idaho that's still going on where a family had their dog killed in one of these and their young boy hurt, and they're still going through that. So I highly recommend looking into that so at least you can educate yourself on what's going on. I didn't actually even know about it before. I just heard about this maybe a few years back, that these things even exist. So those are out there as well as traps, and I mean these are again inhumane. Not that we're justifying killing them at all, but even so, these are torturing ways to kill these fascinating species. And again, those stories matter, you know, because it's not that long ago that natives told completely different stories about these species. They told stories that made them more sacred animals, and somehow they figured out how to coexist with these organisms. I mean, the land was, you know, many, many, many times more animals ran around the land, and somehow they all managed to coexist with one another, and these early Native Americans managed to coexist with them as well and have a lot of respect for them. And I think we have a lot to learn from that going forward. So that's why I really wanted to make this video today, because, you know, when we're sitting there and we have our, you know, dogs sitting around us. Yeah, there he is. You know, you have your dog sitting next to you. You know, you want to think of this story and understand that they are more than, you know, some of the stories we hear for wild animals. Our dogs aren't that far removed from coyotes. And again, coyotes are eating things primarily in their diet, things like berries and small game. So it's not just something to be feared, it's something to be respected. And if we're all going to move forward in a positive direction, I think we need to learn to coexist a little better than we are right now. Just for our own sake, for each other's sake, and for this beautiful planet. So that's all for today. If you guys learned something, if you thought this was cool, then please do me a favor and just give the video a like. It helps kind of get the information out there and spread this information. And yeah, feel free to share this video, or next time you're talking to someone, keep in mind some of the things I talked about so that the stories that do get spread next time are a little different than what's typically spread. So if you're interested in more Did You Knows, we'll be doing a lot more here on the channel as we travel around from Mexico to Canada. And there's lots to learn out there, and I love sharing it with you guys. So if you want to see more, check out the playlist here at the channel. I'm putting all the Did You Knows in one playlist, so you could just binge watch them and learn all kinds of cool things from us. And alternatively, you can just subscribe to the channel, and you'll get an alert when the new video comes out. I appreciate you guys being here. I hope this was helpful and informative and fun. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.